So, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about urban companies' interview experience if you are applying for a software engineer role. So, currently the applications are open. You can check out the links, I'll provide them in the description. And today we'll discuss all about what are the questions asked in an interview, what was the online round, and how to prepare for urban companies' interview rounds. For that, we have with us Kishan Sinha from my college, Triple IT Delhi, who is currently a software engineer at Urban Company. So, hi Kishan, welcome to the channel.
Hi, Misha. Thank you for having me here.
So, let's start with the first question.
Yeah.
How was the first round? So, I remember we were both in the on-campus interview. So, I also
Mhm.
did the on-campus round for Urban Company. So, how was it, and what were the questions asked, if you remember, and what was the difficulty?
Urban Company was one of the first companies which came offline to our college, and they had an offline presentation session. And soon after that, there was an online round. So everybody was seated in our seminar hall. I think you remember that. And yeah, so online round started at around 11, as far as I remember. And there were three questions. Like the format was 2 hours exam and three coding questions, proper like normal standard hacker earth format. So so I don't remember the questions exactly for the online round because it was like 2 years back. But one of those three questions I remember, like there were two medium and one hard. They were not exactly lead code questions, but more of CP nature. So you should be good in implementation and normal logic forming for the online test. So two of the two medium questions were based on some mathematical puzzles, and it included arrays and hash maps. And the third one, which I remember, was uh, like it was something related to finding number of ways in a matrix to go from some place to the other, and there were obstacles. So something like that. So it was to be implemented by backtracking, recursion, and backtracking. Yeah, so that was it. So to qualify, I think 300 to I think 200 people gave the online test, and some 20 or 25 people qualified. So to qualify you for online round, out of the three questions, you have to answer at least two of them 100% correctly, and one question, if you gain even partial points, so those people were able to qualify for the next round. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there were three questions, and all three of them had different points. So I think one was easy, one
Mhm.
was medium, one was hard. So
Yeah.
the points were unequal, and I did not realize this in the beginning. So I did the easy and medium one, and I don't remember if I did the hard one completely. So I was selected. So I did. So at least out of three, you had to do two, and then. But I also know people who were rejected. They did easy and medium, but they were rejected. So I
Yeah.
think it also depends on other factors like probably resume or something. I don't know.
So I think CGPA cutoff was six for the company. So it was pretty lenient on the CGPA part. But yeah, you have to do at least two completely, and one should be partial. Like at least you have to get some test cases correct.
Or you do one easy, one hard, one medium, one hard. That depends.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Mm.
Okay, so that was the online round. And then next we had the offline interview rounds.
Yeah.
So how was your interview experience? And like first round, so I think we had multiple rounds. So there were three rounds. So what was your experience for the first round?
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty scared because it was my first offline interview. So that was COVID. That was just post COVID times, and almost each and every one of the companies which were coming for placements, even on campus, they were hiring through online modes only. So, but yeah, urban company was offline. So like 20-25 people were waiting in the waiting area, and one by one they were being called. There was a team of software engineers from urban company which came for the interview processes. Um, yeah, and like 3-4 interviews was going on at the same time. So yeah, so for my first round, when I was called, yeah, so there was not much of an introduction. They started with the questions. So yeah, on in the first round was the coding round, in which you have to solve uh, like lead code type questions on pen and paper. Yeah, so it was you do not have to write on a doc, something like that. You have to solve it on a pen and paper, and your interviewer was watching like whatever you are writing and how is your thinking process. So the first question, I'll start with the questions. So the first question, so I was asked two questions in the first round. It lasted around 2 hours. So the first question, I think everybody would have heard of this question. It's called maximal square. It's on lead code. Um, so it's like so there is a matrix of zeros and ones, and you have to find the uh, largest square formed by a matrix of ones. So zeros and ones, and there are zeros and another places there are ones. So you have to find the maximum length of the square or the maximum area of the square which has the maximum ones. So that was the question. So uh, this can be easily, this is like an easy to medium lead code, easy to medium DP question. So you can check it out. This was the first question. I solved it matlab, pretty fast, and because I had this memorized. So during my preparation process, this question came a lot. Very popular question. So I had this knowledge and I quickly jotted down how to solve it. First using, so whenever you are solving a question, you have to first write the brute force approach,
Hmm.
and then you have to optimize it slowly. So I told the recursive approach first, and then I told that we can solve it using DP. For in DP also there are two approaches, as everybody knows. First there is memorization, and then there is tabulation. So first you should normally give a memorization approach first, and then the tabulation approach. So that's exactly what I did, and the interviewer was happy. So after this, the second question, this was a hard question, and I did not prepare for this question just before the interview. So this was, I had done this question way back, like a couple, like in second year or something,
Mhm.
but this came as a surprise for me. So it's on GFG. The question is called optimal strategy for a game. The exact number is DP31 if anybody wants to check it out. So in this question, suppose me and Amisha are playing a game. There are, let's say, some number of coins placed between us in a row. Okay. So let's say there are 4 coins, and each coin has some value. Let's say 7, 8, 12, 15, something. Uh, so how do we play this game is, you have to pick a coin from the end of the row. So either the first coin or the last coin, and then you take it for yourself. The and you take it for it, and then the second player plays. So it's an alternate game. So you have to find, if I play first, like if I play first, what is the maximum number of coins, the maximum value of coins which I can take.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was the exact question. So you can check it out on the link. I'm not getting into too much detail here, but yeah, uh, this was a little conceptual, difficult question, I would say. And yeah, I took my sweet time. I asked the interviewer, he gave me some time to think about it, and he said, yeah, okay, think about it. So I slowly formed a logic. I formed a, like, this cannot be solved greedily. So I first proposed a greedy solution. Then I myself said that this cannot be solved greedily because we found a counter example.
Okay.
And then I said that it will be solved by recursion. So we first went to a recursive approach. So yeah, so this was it. And yeah, one more thing, that the interviewer helps you. Like he normally the interviewers do not want you to fail. If you are on the right train of thought,
Good.
yeah, they definitely help you to get to the right path. So I fumbled a little bit in between for using in the parameters and the little bit, but he helped me to get on the right path, and slowly I formed the recursive logic. So that was correct. And after that, now came the main part. And how would you solve it DP? How would you solve it with DP? So by memorization, it's easy. Like any recursive solution, can be formed into a memoized DP answer. There's a triangular method, and you fill the matrix in a triangular way. So that way you needed to know that. And the interviewer was impressed that I knew that method. So I think I got a clear for the first round.
Got it. And this was the same experience with me. I also had the first offline interview, and that was my first and last offline interview till date. I did not have any other offline interviews. So I remember, and the interviewer told me that we were sitting right across each other, so on the table. And the interviewer told me I had my laptop, and he said that no, we don't need laptop. Just he gave me some papers and he gave me a pen, and okay, he said right. And I was so nervous because it was my first offline interview. It was my first interview of the season. Like I had given an interview 1 year back, and I was and writing on paper is something I am not done for. Like I am not good at it. So I started writing, and the interviewer could not understand my handwriting. Very- so it was very traumatic for me. The question was also lead code hard. I'll also share the question. I think it was, I don't remember. I think it was vertical order. So it's a lead code hard question, vertical order in tree. But I don't exactly remember if that was the exact question. There was some tree related question that was lead code hard. So I was not able to completely solve it. I was able to solve it almost there, but the time was over and I was not able to completely solve it. So yeah, I was rejected here. But yeah, so this offline thing was very unexpected. And as you said, I had just one question, I think, because I was not able to solve it. So it was like almost 45 minutes to 1 hour for me. And for you, it was 2 hours because there were two questions. And then I was also asked the introduction. So yeah, so for me, it was tree. For you, it was GP. So I think, yeah, we cannot really say which are the important questions. But since you were asked two DP questions, I think you can say that DP is important.
Yeah, no, actually DP is important. Like many of the other people which are in the company right now, they were asked DP questions. Like almost everybody was asked at least one DP question. So,
No.
so I think UC focuses a lot on DP. Not sure why.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're preparing for urban company, then do DP nicely. That's one thing. And yeah, so even now, do they have offline interviews? Like right now, you're in the company, so
Yeah. Still they go to campus for hires. They have offline interviews.
got it. Okay.
Or for off campus, I think they have online rounds. Like the interviews are online, but for I think on campus they go for offline hires.
Okay, and for lateral hires, I'm assuming they will have an online interview with
Yeah,
like,
online.
travel. Got it. So they can be online or offline both.
Mm-hmm.
So got it. That was the first round, and then what was the next round? The second round.
Yeah, this for the second round, like my thought process was that it's going to be a DBMS or an OS type round. They'll ask me technical questions regarding CN, computer networks, operating systems, and database management system. So I was preparing for that. I was going through my notes just before the interview. It's of no use if you think you can uh, do something in the last 5 minutes. Yeah, but still, everybody was nervous. Everybody was doing that. So then I was called for the second round. Uh, yeah, so it's the same format, a table, and two people are sitting across from it. So in this round, we required laptops. So I asked why. Like, I thought this was a OS. I asked the interviewer that I thought this was a OS round. Why do we need laptops? He said, "Oh no, this is not a OS DBMS round. This is a system design round."
Okay.
So this was a surprise and a relief for me because um, I was not very confident of my OS DBMS knowledge at that time because it was a there was no time for preparing. But system design was something, it is conceptual, so you can like hustle your way through the questions. You can it's mostly based on oops if anybody is wondering out there. So yeah, so I'll jump to the question. So he asked me, design a beverage dispensing machine. So I think everybody would have seen a coffee machine at their somewhere or the other. So a coffee machine can have, let's say, two, three. They can either give a cappuccino, a latte, or a espresso, or tea, or hot water, or let's say milk, warm milk. Let's say six things.
Hmm.
So similarly, I had to design a machine um, in which like four or five kinds of beverages can be dispensed for one user. So so in this round, what is expected is that you understand the requirements very properly.
Hmm.
You ask a lot of questions to the interviewer that what exactly do you want. So is it a single user machine or a multiple user machine? How are the ingredients filled? For in this question, for example, how will the ingredients be filled? What should be the process? Is it pre-made or Like as soon as I press the button, then it will be then it will start making the beverage. So what is the process? Like ask everything in detail. So this is how I went about it. Like I uh, I asked everything in detail. He whatever there is, whatever you can ask, you should ask. So it lasted for 1 hour, for an hour, the round, and the first 30 minutes was just for questioning. Like I just questioned everything. What are the requirements? So once I understood the requirements properly, then he asked me to write the code. So the code is supposed to be in a way that you write it in a oops format. So you have to use inheritance and all these things. Yeah, inheritance, polymorphism, and all these things. So you have to write classes. Let's say a class called machine, and then you have to write a class called ingredient or a class called recipe, and then you have to see how those entities will interact among each other. So entity management, it's a thing, and so that's what they were expecting. And then let's say you have a function called dispense. Okay, so you press a button. There's a function dispense which is called. So that function should be overridden by multiple other functions. That for coffee it should perform a different thing. For tea it should perform a different thing. So those are concepts you should know, and you should have practiced it beforehand. You should have written some code around it. So that helped me because um, in our advanced programming course we did that. Uh, uh, oops projects, so that helped a lot. So this was the second round. It lasted for an hour. So mostly you will be asked questions, like if anybody out there is going for an interview. In second round you can expect a system design round question, in which you can be asked the famous system design questions also. Like I think everybody would have heard of those questions, like design WhatsApp messenger
Mhm.
in a
Chat application, basically.
that application, WhatsApp Messenger, Twitter, in a smaller scale, and design Facebook or design a smart parking lot. So these questions are pretty common. Yeah. So this was it, and at the end, I asked my interviewer that how did I perform.
That is something I don't think you should be doing usually.
No, he was pretty friendly. It depends on the interview. Yeah. So you should. It's not a general advice, but I asked him what is your feedback. So he said it was good, and he said that you understood the requirement very well, so that helped. So that helped in the my clearing the round thing. So you should, yeah. So my advice would be understand the requirement very well. Don't just start coding, but first understand it. Write down the points, draw some maps. Do that. Yeah. So this was the second.
Got it. So, yeah, for system design also you should ask questions. For DSA also, if you are not clear about the question, you should ask questions, because sometimes people just assume something and then they start coding and then they realize midway that okay, I didn't understand the question properly. So asking questions is important.
Yeah. Even in DSA, like you should ask that what is the am I allowed extra space or not? So these kind of things are important.
Correct. So okay, so that was your second round.
Yeah.
So I have no insights to share here, but let's move to the yeah. So I have some trauma because it was my first interview where I was rejected. So it hurts here till now. And it was the reason was it was offline, so I was so nervous. It was not I was not rejected, but like mainly because of my DSA. It was also because I was very nervous. So I think that is offline interviews are a different ballgame altogether. Let's start with the third round. What happened there?
So third round was not a technical round. It was more of an HR kind of round. They asked you questions about you. What are your future plans? Like, what do you plan on doing after this? So one question the interviewer asked me was, "Do you plan on doing higher studies?"
That is that's a tricky question, because if you say yes, even if you want to do higher studies, never say yes, because then they will reject you outright because they don't want someone who leaves the company after a few years.
Yeah. So yeah. So this was the question. I said no. I actually don't have a plan of higher studies right now. That's what I said. Yeah. So this is a trap question sometimes. So you have to be careful answering this. And one slight technical question which they asked, kind of technical question. Uh, it was mostly to know how deep you can think, something like that. So for it, very open-ended question. So let's say there is a city with a population of, let's say, 10 million, and we have, let's say, 200 providers. So how will you um, make sure that at let's say at a certain time there are multiple requests around the city? How will you ensure the scheduling of the providers, something like that? So this is a very complex question. Many of the companies are just made for this scheduling thing.
Mm.
So this was a complex question, and they were not expecting the 100% correct answer. It's very difficult to tell to tell the accurate answer for this, but they just want to know ki how deep you can think. So you can think in many ways. You can so like you can One of the ways is to divide the city into multiple regions and assign some regions to a particular provider. So that is helpful for them. So this was one of the way, and I think I gave this answer only, and they were okay with it. But yeah, it's just to think how far you can think about what creative solutions you can approach. For some people, for other colleagues of mine, I think they were also asked in the final round. They were also asked some DVMS questions also. So not for me, but for some other people, they were asked this question, like asset properties and normal DVMS questions. So this was the last round, and on the same day, I received the email that okay, you have been selected.
What was your strategy to prepare? Like over, I think you were doing the essay for a long time. So and so, what are the things that you think someone should prepare for DSA? And like, if you have just a few months, how do you prepare for DSA, and how did you prepare? And same goes for system design.
Okay, so I'll start with how I prepared for my uh, placements. So placements were supposed to start in July 2023. So if if you are someone whose placements are little far, like let's say it's after like 6 months, so you should start preparing right now, like 6 months, not later than that. If you have a lot of time, 6 months is the threshold where you should start preparing with your full energy. So I started preparing around October, uh, more than 6 months. Like started preparing on October last year, October 2022. So how I started was, first you should know the material where, so like everybody knows that DSA is the key factor. So your first focus should be on DSA. So I started in October by preparing a list of questions, by gathering resources on how to start the solving DSA problems. So so if you're someone who wants to get into computer science and wants to get into computer placements, you should first start by getting the know-how of a language. So Java, C++, these are the recommended language. I preferred C++ at that time because I had some background in it. So just learn C++, learn all the data structures, learn STL library, and start solving questions. So yeah, so I started with I think a very popular sheet called Love Bubble 400 problem sheet, 400 or 450 problem.
450, yeah.
Yeah, 450. So I started with that, and I tried to solve all the questions in that. So I could not do all the questions because there were so many distractions that it's very difficult to complete all the 450 questions. But if you can do that, so that is the best state you can be in. If you solve all the 450 questions, so it covers each and every topic. Or you can also solve Striver's 180 problem sheet. I think it's 180, right?
Yeah, I think so. Not sure. There's one A to Z sheet and one is 180 top interview questions.
Yeah, 180 top interview. Yeah, so and there is also a video series of Striver where he goes through every topic and he solves all the important questions of each topic in both the languages, Java and C++. So you should start that. You should just get on with that. solve each and every question, try to memorize the techniques used in those questions, and yeah, so this is it. So when I completed the syllabus using these sheets, so this was my syllabus. I did not read a book or read something. I just started solving problems. I think that is the best way for DSL. So when this was done, I say deal breaking thing which I did was, uh, there was a friend group of ours in which everybody was unplaced. So what we did, we started having competitions among that group. So there was a website. It's not active anymore, sadly. It was called binarysearch.com. In that, they used to create contests of lead code questions, virtual contests of lead code question, and your friends can participate in that. So we used to do that every day. Every day we used to solve one contest. Like it takes, I think, 1 or 2 hours. I think 1 hour, yeah. And you have to solve 2 3 questions. You have to speedily solve 2 3 questions. So we used to compete in that, and the winner had to buy something for everyone from the canteen. So this was a ritual we had for 2 3 months.
No, no, winner had to buy or the loser had to buy this?
Winner had to buy
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, I think loser had to buy. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, the loser had to buy Maggie's or something like that.
So I think you can also do lead code has these virtual contests. So I don't know if code forces is needed honestly, but lead code virtual contests you can try. They are good, or you can give the actual live contests on weekends. That is another way. And yeah, and having a group is, and I think almost all people in that group got placed in good companies if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah, everybody got placed. Everybody got. They got placed in good places. MathWorks, Oracle, I in Urban Company, one NGO. Yeah, everybody got placed at good places. Yeah. Yes, I think you mentioned CP. So one more thing I would like to mention is that I did little bit of CP before October also. Like I started in October. So during that time, I started Code Forces also. So in Code Forces, I think I went to specialist. Then I stopped because it was then placements were approaching, and Code Forces is not something 100% necessary for placements, but it helps. It helps in logic forming, and if you get some surprising questions, it helps. And I also did Code Chef. I think I reached 4 star in Code Chef, and then I stopped. I think you also asked a question. If somebody has 3 months, how should they prepare? Right. So if you have 3 months, and I'm assuming you have a knowledge of a programming language till now, you should do a list of questions. And I think Striver's 180 interview questions list is a must. Interview questions are something which will be directly asked in the interview. Like you don't need to think more about it. You need to know this approaches for each and every question. Like 180 questions should be memorized in your brain at all times. For OS, DBMS, OS and DBMS, I think LabBubber has a video. You can find many resources how to prepare for OS, how to prepare for DBMS. So you just need to go through the basics. You need to understand each and every term um, in OS and DBMS. Like in DBMS, acid properties and index. What is indexing? And some basic queries, sort by and limit. You should know all these basic keys and all these things you should know in DBMS. OS also you should know all the terms, race condition, deadlock, how to avoid deadlock. These questions are very very important, very very common.
For placements, I think Gate Smashers or there's Love Bubber or all these different YouTubers. So they have playlists. So just take one and complete it. Don't like complete all of those. So that should be good. And any interview specific things related to urban company, like specifically for urban company, if you're preparing any tips or as you said, important topics, you said DP is one, but anything else if it comes to your mind.
DP is very important for urban company. Apart from that, trees also. Like the topics which people miss during their preparation. They normally miss. They say that अरे DP graph तो नहीं आएगा. It doesn't come. They prepare till trees and then they stop. That's not it. So DP graphs and trees. So you should be well versed in these topics also. And do some whiteboarding before the interview. Like try to solve the question on a whiteboard. Try to explain it to your friend on a whiteboard that okay, this is how I will solve the question, and ask your friend to counter question you on 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 each step. So that helps. And do system design. So system design is something which very few companies ask for entry level positions, but urban company does. So you should be a little bit aware of the topics and the concepts. Not in very deep, like, but you should know some basics of system design, some patterns. You should know that.
One more thing is that since when you are writing on paper, there is no way to remove, like when you're writing on keyboard, you can just on laptop, you can just press backspace and things get removed. So when you're writing on paper, that's not the case. And if you keep on cutting it, it seems very like that's what happened with me. I was writing some code and then I realized, okay, this is not working. Then I was cutting it. I was taking another sheet. It was a waste of time. So try to think a lot before writing anything because it's not your laptop where you can just write and remove instantly. And also like comment. So writing comments is not also very easy to make that slash and then write. So these are some things. So do practice on paper because it's not as easy. We are very we have this habit of writing on laptops, like coding on laptop, but try to do that on paper because it gets very daunting sometimes. So
Another very important skill or thing which helps is communication. Like always express your doubts, your concerns to your interviewer. Don't assume things. Like it is more appreciated if you ask silly doubts rather than you assume something and solve in a wrong way. You ask all the questions which you can ask related to the problem given to you.
that's it for this interview experience. I'll link the job descriptions in the description, but you can also check out the Urban Company career page and you'll probably find a lot more. And thank you so much, Kishan, for taking out your time on Sunday. I know how important Sunday is for all of us. So, and I hope this video will be helpful to people. And I'll also link Kishan's, LinkedIn, etc. So if you have any doubts, you can directly ping him. So thank you again.
Thank you, Amisha, for having me.